The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom holds the promise of unearthing many secrets within the history of Hyrule, but one huge secret from the original Breath of the Wild is the history of the Zonai, who now seem to be front and center within this new game. But as time goes on, and as we learn more about them, it is my belief that the Zonai may be connected heavily or are the true identity of the Twili and even that of the Dark Interlopers. And with this Zelda theory, you may become a believer as well. This is HMK, and let's dive directly into the noise. As we all know, the Twili are descendants of those known as the Dark Interlopers, those that were skilled with dark shadow magic that tried to establish dominion over the sacred realm, but were sealed away within the Twilight realm by the light spirits who were dispatched by the golden goddesses. These people eventually became known as the Twilight Tribe, and their history proves a focal point within that of Twilight Princess. Now, as we move on to Tears of the Kingdom, throughout the multiple trailers and even hints from the original Breath of the Wild, we see that the Zonai have been connected with this green energy, not unlike that of Twilight magic that we've seen in Twilight Princess. To me, it's very iconic, but for others, it's not enough to draw this connection. As we look from the original Breath of the Wild and even in the Tears of the Kingdom trailers, we see that the hieroglyphics, the iconography, and architecture of Zonai creations matches up with that of the Twili, not just in carvings, but also with this green energy, with many believing that this mystical magic is tied to that of spiritual essence, as this concept is very significant in Breath of the Wild when it comes to the fallen champions and the King of Hyrule, but this motif specifically originated in Twilight Princess, and tied to that of those that suffer the consequences of being enveloped in the Twilight realm, something that continued on into Skyward Sword and seemingly now in Tears of the Kingdom. And speaking of Tears of the Kingdom, the concept of gathering tears in order to put into a vessel for various uses originated in Twilight Princess, got carried over into Skyward Sword, and now maybe into Tears of the Kingdom, but I digress. Looking further into the possible connections between the Twili and the Zonai going into Tears of the Kingdom deals with the whole concept of animal motifs. Twilight Princess had a huge focus on this, not only in gameplay, but also in lore, as the Twili are known to have connections to various animal motifs, and even one of their most iconic legends speak of a divine beast. One that will present themselves as such that will be the salvation of both the Light World and the Twilight Realm. And as we look into the Zonai, when it comes to their architecture that you can see within Breath of the Wild and from creating a champion, they also deal a lot with animals, specifically boars, owls, and dragons. And as we can see within the trailer of Tears of the Kingdom, it goes further beyond that with now what seems to be a flying falcon. And I'm sure that we'll see more. But what about the history, the lore factor when it comes to the differences or connections between that of the Zonai and the Twili? Well, from what we gather with the Zonai, they were known to be skilled magic users, but also known to be savages, with a surprising amount of creative marvels that you can see all over Hyrule. But then, seemingly overnight, the tribe just completely vanished. And with the contradicting information of them being skilled magic users while also being savages, I feel that there is a big contrast of information in that those that control history want us to perceive them as savages, almost as if to not look into their forgotten history. And to me, that can literally fit what happened to the Twili, specifically the Interlopers, in that if they were truly the Zonai disappearing goes along with what happened to them in the history of Twilight Princess, with the light spirits taking their entire tribe and lock them away in the Twilight realm. They are definitely skilled at magic, and in order for the royal family to cover up their guilt with these tracks, let's say they want to spread the word that these were savages, and that they possibly deserved being locked away, and that you shouldn't really look into it. And with this guilt, these sins, they could attribute to Tears of the Kingdom, the sins of the royal family and the kingdom as a whole, but there's more on that in another video coming up. And since this tribe dealt with shadowy spirit magic, this type of focus in the real true history of Hyrule could be that of rivaling the Sheikah, even predating their advances in terms of ability, architecture, and mechanical marvels, as I really feel that's insinuated in Breath of the Wild and the Tears of the Kingdom trailer, and that a reason for them being sealed away could be attributed to that of possibly maintaining an order of power. that if this tribe were to rival that of the Sheikah, who swore their loyalty to the crown, could be a little too dangerous to have running around on their own. And that the true identity of this green magical arm that we see within Tears of the Kingdom could possibly be that of the last known practitioner of the Zonai arts, that was used as a very shady last-ditch effort by the crown in order to finally stop Ganondorf, lock him away, and cease this cycle that we see throughout that of Zelda. And possibly dealing with that cycle through the Zonai would be the main point of Tears of the Kingdom, as shown off possibly in the logo. And in that final sense, restoring the Master Sword, as we see that it is truly damaged beyond recognition, could require awakening the essence that the Master Sword always had since the events of Twilight Princess. That is right, the essence of souls. As we see in the logo when it comes to the Master Sword's green blueprint under the Z, not only does that go in line with Twilight imagery, but it is also very close to the hieroglyphics that we see on the souls themselves within Twilight Princess. On that note, we're going to focus on a deep dive within the Master Sword's restoration in this game. There's also the idea of pointing out Majora flavor that we see in the hieroglyphics here, as they all take place in the child timeline. And honestly, to me, this dungeon-like structure in the distance does give me Palace of Twilight vibes. After all, they are all floating on islands within the Twilight realm. In any case, there may be an extremely hidden history that links the Zonai to the Twilight and Interlopers that we will see finally come to focus within that of Tears of the Kingdom that could explain a lot within the past going into the future. But I feel the biggest connection that a lot of people don't acknowledge is the fact that the Interlopers do have an intimate knowledge of the Triforce, once laying claim to the Sacred Realm, which could explain why the Zonai knows so much about it when it comes to dragons, owls, and boars. And this history could finally expose the whereabouts of the Golden Triangle that was nowhere to be seen in Breath of the Wild, that will finally come to light in Tears of the Kingdom. But there is a ton more for next time. Until then, I hope you enjoyed the video. Be sure to share it with your Zelda legions, leave a comment, a like, and be sure to subscribe to HMK for more Zelda videos every week. Big thanks to my Patreon supporters for making this video happen. If you want to find out how you can support HMK for just $1 a month, check out my info in the description box below, and be sure to grab some merch over at my shop at Fourth Wall. Alright guys, until the next Zelda video, this has been HMK, and I'll check you guys later.